And we are live. Yay!
Oh,
That's exciting. So I want to welcome everybody who's going to join us and anyone who's going to be watching our video later. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is 10, and I'm so excited to have a wonderful guest today with me. And she's going to be sharing with us and helping us answer some of the questions that we have about working in Japan, and especially for everyone who's looking to go work in Japan as an ESL. So we are going to have a wonderful conversation that's going to be also very helpful for anyone who's looking forward to transition to work in Japan. So first of all, I'm going to ask my guest to introduce herself and also tell us where she's from, and then we're going to get started. Welcome so much, Shi, from Japan. I'm so excited to have you here. So could you please briefly introduce yourself and also tell us which part of Japan you are?
okay. Good morning or good evening, depending on the time you're watching. Um, okay, and my name is Chinyere Luke. I am a teacher, been a teacher for the past 5 years now, and I recently moved to Japan last year as
Mhm.
an ALT, and I currently live in Ibaraki Prefecture in the northern part of Japan. And I'm
Mhm.
happy to be here today to share, like I always do. Thank
Wow,
you for having me.
thank you so much for joining us today. And I never got to get to Ibarachi, but I was working in Toki City. So that is Gifu Ken.
Gifu. Oh,
So
okay, okay, okay.
yes, so that's very close to Nagoya. I think Nagoya is the biggest
Oh,
city that people know, and it's a beautiful
yeah.
city.
Yeah. Mm.
Yes, and then I'm so happy that you're here with us today. And maybe first of all, you could share with us a bit about your journey. How did you find the job? How did you apply? How long did it take you? Would like to hear about that.
Okay, so it was around February last year,
Hmm.
2024, that I came across the opportunity to actually teach in Japan. So I was just on Facebook, I was
Wow.
really low key. Yeah, I was not. Okay, so I used to be very active on social media when I was an undergraduate student in University of
Hmm.
Nigeria, Nsukka. And around 2020, my Facebook account was hacked and I lost that account permanently. So all my writings, even the ones that were published on blogs, everything was gone.
Hmm.
I lost motivation for social media entirely.
Oh.
And I just opened another account just to, keep in touch with reality, so to say.
Yeah.
And okay, I just go to Facebook once in a while. But on this particular day, I logged into Facebook and I saw a post from a guy. His name is Ifai. He was talking about teaching opportunity in Japan. And
Wow.
luckily for me, it was during, I think we had midterm break or something around that time. So I was like, I think it's one of the scams, But since I am not doing anything, and
Yeah.
I have a curious mindset, I want to know everything. I want to know
Yes.
everything. So I was like, okay, even if it's a scam, let me just try. Let me waste my time. So I
Mm-hmm.
began researching. Then I came across Peace Keleme's YouTube channel. I watched her videos, and I was like, wait, hold on. This girl's face looks innocent. She can't scam me.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. I began making more research, and then I began looking for dispatch companies, and actually
Mm-hmm.
not dispatch companies at first. I actually wanted to apply directly to the government. But unfortunately, I discovered Nigeria is not one of those countries eligible to apply
Mm-hmm.
directly for the government program, which is the JET. And I was like,
Yes.
okay, so which other avenue can I, explore?
Mm-hmm.
Then I
Mm-hmm.
began to see other companies, dispatch companies. I was like, oh, this is beginning to look like something real. And I came across a lot of them: Interact, Borderlink, Altia, Heart, just so many. I began exploring and I began applying. I think the very first email I got
Mm-hmm.
was a rejection mail. I was like, wait,
Oh.
if someone wants to scam me, they will not reject me, you know?
Yes.
So I
Mhm.
was like, okay, it seems this is real. So I just, put in a little bit more effort. And along the line, I think around March, two of the companies got back to me
Mhm.
and we began, talking more and more. And I was like, oh, wait, this is looking real. It's becoming real. And okay, it got to a point during the interview because I was just going along with the two of them in case anyone decides to just mess me up along the line. And it
Mhm.
got to the point where I was to actually make a decision because we
Mhm.
were close to the stage of applying for the certificate of eligibility. So I was like,
Mhm.
no, I don't know if this will have a negative impact on me for two companies to be applying for COE for the same name. So I had to drop one
Mhm.
company and just continued with the other. And fast forward to April last year, I got my contract letter. I signed. I did everything, forwarded my documents as requested for, and that was it. So in
Wow.
August, yes, in August, I found myself here in Japan. Actually, I went through different stages of interview. I never did
Mhm.
anything called the Progos test then because
Oh.
yeah, then I eventually
Yeah.
did anyways. Yeah, so
Mhm.
I I didn't know anything about it. So around that time when people ask me what is Progos, I don't know what to tell them. You know, so
Mhm.
basically that's just it. That was just the whole process for me. That was just the whole process for me, and I am here in Japan.
Wow, that's so exciting, Chi, because it's almost like my story and how I ended up in Japan. Because when I was looking, I was actually the time when there's COVID and some of us lost our jobs. I was one of those
Yeah.
people that lost my job.
Oh.
And I was wondering what next now. And I actually I went to LinkedIn and I was looking for jobs and I was scrolling. And then I came across Japan and I looked at requirements for teaching and I see actually this is something I can do. But I was like not so sure because when
Right.
I think about
Mm.
Japan, I had to first go look at the map. Where exactly is Japan on the map? And I imagined, wow, is this possible? But I actually
Mm.
went to YouTube. I
Mm.
looked for videos and I saw actually the same thing, people talking about teaching in Japan.
In Japan.
And I was like, wow, this is a thing. So, and I that's how I ended up. Anyway, I ended up in Japan. So, and I am happy that you also did mention about you applied and you got rejected. You got a rejection, and
Yes.
I know a lot of people talk about the same thing. They've applied a lot. I see some people telling me they've applied 50 times, but they get a
Wow.
rejection.
Wow.
Which is pretty sad because the
Yeah.
application process, it
Mm.
takes a lot of work.
True.
But what encouragement would you give to someone who's applied and probably, they keep getting a rejection?
Okay. This is honestly, like you said, it can be disheartening, putting in
Hmm.
so much effort and not really getting results. But
Yeah.
the advice I'm going to give to anyone who has been getting rejection mails is if this is really what you want, you should keep trying. Okay. Yes, I know a lot of people are applying to teach in Japan for different reasons. Okay. Someone like me, well, I studied mass communication and for the past 5 years, I have been teaching. So I think I have accepted my fate. I am called to be a teacher, maybe for now. So when the opportunity came to teach in Japan, it was just more like along the same line of what I have been doing. So it was not really a means of escape, for me. But I know people have different reasons for wanting to teach in Japan. And whatever your reason is, I believe it is valid. Okay. So if this is really what you want, I don't think you should give up. Japan is just another country. Like people also want to go to the UK, they want to go to US. A lot of people have lost millions, they've lost thousands of dollars trying to, relocate to the UK, to the US, but they never gave up. So many people tried for so many years, they never gave up. Okay, so I don't think you should give up if this is what you want. But if it is becoming too frustrating for you, you can explore outside Japan. There are so many other countries too. Like I know Vietnam. Vietnam also has opportunities for teachers. I think South Korea, even though some of these other countries are more selective, and some of them have even more stringent rules and requirements for those that want to come into their countries to teach. But you can explore these other countries, you can explore China. You can just, even if it requires you to maybe take a short course to have a teaching certification, because when to teach in Japan, all you need is basically a degree in any field of study, right? That's like the minimum requirement. But for some of these countries, they really want to see maybe a certification or a degree in teaching. You can maybe do a crash course, a 1 year course. What will it take from you? At least you've been applying for. Some people have been applying for the past 2 years, they've not gotten it. So within the same 2 year frame, if you had applied for maybe a course in teaching, at least you have a certification. That's an added advantage to you. So it really takes nothing away from you. So I would advise anyone who is at that verge of discouragement, you just have to keep trying. And you might also want to look outside Japan. And while you are trying, you might want to maybe just take a course or get a certification, or maybe do a postgraduate diploma in education. Just have something that makes your CV more attractive, because the truth is, it is becoming more competitive. That's the truth. Yeah.
Wow, that's I like what you said there for sure. That and the first thing I say, you mentioned is about like just knowing your purpose and where where you're called to be, and I think that's very important because I've met people who are I've also met people who are quitting teaching because they
Exactly.
probably don't feel they have
Mm,
the patience for it and the grace for it.
true. True.
And yeah, and then different people, some people are also looking to go teach because they want to change of environment, to explore other careers and other options, and I think that's okay. And I think we have a question here.
Okay.
Pamela is asking, hello, I didn't get to hear the company name. Do you mind sharing the two companies that you applied with?
No.
Okay, okay, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
But I think we
Yeah.
can tell people the dispatch companies that actually do hire in
Sure.
Japan.
Sure. I
Yeah.
am free to do that. I can do that.
Sure, sure. Maybe you can mention some of the companies that they
Okay.
can look up.
Okay. So you have Altia, Altia.
Mhm.
Yeah, you have Altia. Like I have some people that came to Japan recently. They got a job with Altia. You can apply to Heart Corporation. You can apply to Interact. You can apply to Borderlink. You can apply to what's this one now? So many names. And there's this other one, ABC Corporation. There is this one, Kids Duo, KIDS, Kids, then Duo, two, DUO, and so many others. Okay, so but you can just start with these ones, and as soon as you begin exploring, you come across other companies too. Then there is this one that is more, it's a bit strict. It's Shane, Shane. They have more stringent rules and all of that. But if you come through Shane, I think they have very good packages. I think they even maybe subsidize or pay part of the airfare. Unlike these other dispatch companies that you have to sort your airfare and everything, your accommodation, by yourself. So you can just explore some of these companies, and then you will be good. Okay, you will be good for
Mhm.
yeah, for Altia, for Borderlink, for Interact, for Hertz Corporation. I think basically they have almost the same requirements. Basic requirement is a degree in any field of study, and if you have a TEFL certificate, that's just an added advantage, honestly. But I would really advise that since it is becoming more competitive, you want to get all of the added advantage that you need, that you can get. Okay, get a TEFL certificate, or there's this free one on teacherrecord.com. That was what I used. So though some people have said that it is not standardized, some companies do not accept it because it is not paid for, but I used it, it worked for me, so it might work for you. So you can just do that, get a free one on teacherrecord.com, or you can get the more standardized one, CELTA, TOEFL, Delta. These are more standardized TEFL certificates that you can get, and you will be good to go. Okay.
I think you really explained them very well, and I think you highlighted them well. And I've done a video about these companies as well, all the companies that are actually the dispatch companies in Japan. And I also do tell people about Gaijinport as well, that
Good.
Gaijinport has all the, you'd find the private, and you find different schools. You also find the dispatch companies as well.
And
So, and also
part-time
create,
jobs too. Mm.
and part-time jobs.
Yes. Yes,
Oh,
on
that's
Gaijinport.
amazing.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's amazing to know. So that's the place where you can go and find those all those companies, and it's a good place to also create your profile, and then they do send you available jobs.
Mm.
And I think we have a question, and I'm actually trying to read it. Do these companies? Oh dear, this question is blocked. Can you see it from your end, Chi?
No, I can't. My chat is literally empty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, let me just see. Uh, oh, yes, I got it. Do these companies recruit from Africa? Because I know most of them want native speakers. Now, that's a very good question, Chi. What do you
Mm.
think?
Yes, these companies recruit from Africa. Okay,
Mm-hmm,
so there are two categories of teachers that are recruited to teach in Japan. You have the
mm-hmm,
ones they call native speakers of English and near native speakers. So if you are from Canada, you're from Australia, you're from New Zealand, you're from UK,
mm-hmm,
US, that English is the official language. No, not official. English is
mm-hmm.
the native language. You know,
Yes.
you are you are the needed person actually. Okay,
Mm-hmm,
but if you come from a country where English is the official language, like I am from Nigeria, English is the official language, even though we have so many languages. you come from
mm-hmm.
you come from South
Kenya.
Africa is also considered
Yes.
a native
Oh, yes.
speaking country. Okay,
Mm-hmm,
and if you come from Ghana, like we had
mm-hmm.
training yesterday, I went for my company's training yesterday. I met people from everywhere. I met a
Wow.
Ghanaian, yeah, like people from
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. So if you're from Ghana, you're from Nigeria, as long as English is the official language of your
Yes.
country, you are qualified to apply. You may not
Mm-hmm.
qualify, in fact, you will not be qualified to apply for the JET program. That is strictly for people from countries where English is the native language. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But if you are from a country where English is the official language, you can apply to any of those dispatch companies and they will surely recruit you. Yeah.
Wow, I love what you said, and that's true. I come from Kenya as well, and Kenya is also, we also, it's the same thing as Nigeria. We
Right.
have Kenya is the official language for going to school. Like we use it's the language of instruction, and
Okay.
yeah. But as they say, we are considered as English is our second
Second
language.
language. Yeah.
Yes, we are not the native speakers, but
Mhm.
I do know that they do require, and this is taking us to our next conversation. If you could please tell us what are the requirements that we need to have as we look to applying this in 2025. And I know as we're talking about, having English as a second language for us, who are not native speakers. There's a requirement that we need to prove that we have 12 years of education and the language of instruction was English. So if you could please tell us what do we require for that, and also just take us through all the other requirements that we need to apply.
Okay. Okay. So let me start with the 12 years of education in English part because that needs to be explained because I know a lot of
Mhm,
people are usually confused about that. So, one of the requirements for you, a non-native speaker of English, to apply to teach in Japan is to have a 12-year experience of learning using English
Mhm.
as a medium. What this basically means is if you started your primary school and all the subjects you were taught using English as a medium. Um,
Mhm.
Primary school, you are naturally expected to spend 6 years in primary school, right?
Mhm.
And then secondary school, naturally, you
Yeah.
are expected to spend another 6 years. So
Mhm.
you spend 6 years in primary school learning using English as a medium. Then you spend 6 years in the secondary school using English as the medium of learning. That is 12 years. So what
Mhm.
this means is when you get to that stage with your recruiter, you are expected to go to your primary school. In my case, my company gave me a format of what
Mhm.
they want and how they want, the the letter sort of to be
Mhm.
written. Okay, so they gave
Yeah.
me the sample. I took it
Mhm.
to my mom in this case because I was in at home, anyways. So
Mhm.
took it to my primary school, and the school used the official letterhead of the school letterhead paper.
Mhm.
They pasted the message on the letterhead paper, and it
Mhm.
had the school stamp and the signature of the headmistress in my case for my primary school. And for my
Wow.
secondary school, the same letter was taken to the principal of the school, and the letter was pasted on the school's letterhead, paper, and it
Mhm.
also carried the school principal's signature and the school's stamp. So the signature of the principal and the stamp of the school authorizes that document, makes it, it's more like saying, okay, yes, we know Luke Chinyere. She studied in the school for 6 years, and all the while she was here, we used English to teach her all of the
Mhm.
subjects. And I am the principal. I am authorizing this document and saying, yes, it is true. So you take these two documents to,
Mhm.
yeah, and mail it to the company, either physically or through your electronic mail, depending on the requirements of your company. But
Mhm.
some people usually spend maybe 5 years in the elementary school and maybe 5 years in the secondary school, because some people write their YA in SS2.
Mhm.
Some people stop primary school in primary 5, and skip primary 6 and go to JSS1. If
Yeah.
you are in that category, you will have to go to your university because it was
Wow.
12 years, yes. So
Mm.
in this case, now you have 5 years of learning using English as a medium in your primary school, 5 years
Mhm.
in your secondary school. So that is 10 years. So you will need the remaining years from your university. So you take the same letter to your university and,
Mhm.
that's the same process. And that is all. That is number one. That's one of the requirements. Now,
Mhm.
you also need a university degree. A lot of people usually ask, what about my HND? What about my ND? Sadly enough,
Mhm.
internationally, these degrees are not considered equivalent of a university degree. Okay, they are not considered equivalent of a university degree. So if you have an HND, well, I will not speak authoritatively here. Okay,
Mhm.
maybe it does work for someone. I don't know. But if you have HND or ND, from my experience, it is not acceptable. Okay, it is not acceptable. They usually specify university degree. So if you are submitting a degree and it does not carry that tag university, automatically they just flag it. You know, they won't even,
Oh.
yeah. So they won't look at the other things. They won't look at the other qualifications that you have, because the
Mhm.
number one thing that they want to see is that you attended a university. Now, you need a university degree. Like I mentioned briefly earlier, if you can get a TEFL certificate, now that it is becoming more competitive, you want to add that. Okay, you need a TEFL from wherever you can get it. Get it.
Mhm.
You need that. Okay, and if you can, I don't think this is really a major requirement, but it is a plus. If you can speak Japanese, maybe basic Japanese, right? You
Yeah.
It gives us sort of impression that, oh, this person is really ready to immerse themselves in the Japanese culture or something like that. You can speak basic Japanese, basic greetings, basic, day-to-day conversation. that will be
Mhm.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have that, it is okay, perfectly
Mhm.
okay. Um, what other thing is required now? Okay, I know Borderlink introduced something last year. It was when people started asking, because I made some videos where I was telling people that no dispatch company will ask you for money or anything like that.
Yeah.
And some people come to me and they're like, Borderlink is telling them to show proof of fund. And I'm wondering what is going on. Yeah.
Oh, that's new.
Yes, it's new, right? I think this is
Wow.
my theory. A lot
Mhm.
of people say, yes, they have enough money
Yeah.
to, get accommodation and all of that. Meanwhile, all they have is actually money for just a flight. So they come here, they get stranded, they are
Mhm.
affecting the workflow, and probably they've experienced this over and over, and they're like, not anymore. We need to be
Yeah.
sure that you actually have enough money in your account for you to apply. So for
Wow.
some, yes. So for companies like Borderlink, they would usually ask you to have like 600,000 yen in your account in your own currency. Yes. So you have to show a proof of such amount in your account. And that is for Borderlink. I don't know if any other company is beginning to adopt that. So you also need that proof of fund if you apply to Borderlink. Um, I think, yes, your university certificate. For some companies, they will say you have to provide your university, your degree certificate. For some, they say, okay, your transcript is okay. In my case, I submitted both the transcript and the certificate. Okay, both the transcripts and the certificates, I submitted both. But for some companies, they will request just one, either your certificate or your transcript. So you need to get all of these things ready. I think these are the basic requirements. I don't know if I'm missing out on
Yeah.
any.
I think you've touched almost all of them, to be honest, and I'm happy you also touched about the issue about the degree, because a lot of people ask me to. I have a diploma in education,
Yeah.
but they really look at the degree.
Mm.
That's the cut line. And I'm so sorry, guys. I have to apologize because my babies are.
It's okay.
I'm babysitting as I do this, but yeah. So you'll hear babies in the background, but.
Yeah.
Now, I'm happy that you mentioned that, because these are things that we didn't like, that are pretty new, like the,
Mm.
showing the proof of funds. And I think also we have someone who asked a question. Some of us have the qualifications, but have a funding gap for travel.
Mm.
So, I would also want to ask, because this touches on the requirements as well.
Yeah.
What in terms of funding, how much money would you advise someone to have, you know in factoring in the travel, that they have
Mm.
to travel to pay for their own ticket, and also just being able to settle? How does that look like? What's the approximate amount of money someone should have?
Okay. I don't want to run into trouble because I am not good with all of this dollar thing. I know there are
Yeah.
different people from different nationalities watching this or that will watch this later. So
Hmm.
this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say this way. So um, for your flight, okay, you need to have money for flight. You need to have money for accommodation for the first 2 months. You need to have
Hmm.
money for feeding for the first 2 months. You need to have money for transportation for the first 2 months in Japan. So these four categories, I'll take it again: money for your airfare, money for accommodation for 2 months, money for feeding for 2 months, and money for transportation for 2 months. Now,
Hmm.
for your flight, I think that is easy depending on your country. When I came, I think I paid 2.6 million naira
Hmm.
for my
Hmm.
flight. So depending on your country, you can just go to bookings.com, or you can go directly to this airfare company, their websites like Qatar or Ethiopian
Hmm.
Airline or Turkish Airlines. Just go to their website and type one-way trip to Japan from Kenya. Okay,
Hmm.
so that gives you how much you will be needing for your airfare to Japan. That is number one. Number two, for accommodation.
Hmm.
Hmm, this is a very huge and
Yes.
complicated point, really. But I'll try
Yeah.
my best to summarize, okay? So, generally housing for foreigners in Japan can be difficult. Can be
Yes.
difficult. Okay, but I remember when I came, I paid 214,000 yen for my accommodation. That covered the key money, uh,
Mhm.
guarantor fee, my rent for the first 2 months, um, initial deposit. I don't know if I've mentioned that. So all of those are in the 214,000 yen. But
Mhm.
I haven't stayed here for a couple of months, and being the inquisitive person that I am, I have explored. I have lived in 3 different apartments since I came to Japan.
Wow.
Yeah, I have lived
Mhm.
in 3 apartments, just moving from one to the other, from one to the. And thanks to my friend too, who was just, showing me the
Mhm.
ropes. No, you don't have to pay this high for apartments and all of that. But it is very, very likely that when you come into Japan, your first accommodation is going to be expensive. Sometimes you might not just be able to avoid that because
Mhm.
the easiest apartment for you to get when you come to Japan is Leo Palace. Okay, because they have the English service and then they
Mhm.
mostly cater to foreigners and people that work with companies. Okay, but if you are really on the very low budget side, you might want to consider share housing. Okay, depending on your personality and the kind of person that you are. Honestly, I also had difficulty with finance, with money when I got the
Mhm.
job, and the option of share house came up. Honestly, I am not a type of person who can really live in a share house, but I
Mhm.
considered it because you know, I was just looking for every means to just cut down costs and all of that. So if you are the type that can live with others, live in a crowded environment, because share housing in Japan basically means you have a room to yourself, but you will share all of the common areas. You share the kitchen, you share the toilet, you share the bathroom, you share the living room. Okay, but you have a room to yourself. Okay, so if you can live in such apartment, then you are good to go. You can, live in a share house. It is more subsidized. You will not pay initial deposit. You will not pay guarantor fee. You will not pay all of that. You just pay monthly. Okay, you pay as you live in the apartment. So you might want to also consider share housing. And another housing company that really caters to foreigners is Village House. So if you are already preparing to come to Japan, you might just want to put in the search villagehouse.com. They have English service and it is sweet communicating with them. They're so responsive, they will help you. And the housing, mostly depending on the prefecture, is cheap. Okay, village house apartments are usually cheap. So you might also want to consider village house. So you will not be paying as high as 214,000 yen for Leo Palace, okay, in village house. And I think there are other companies too. Real Estate Japan is another website that caters to foreigners and housing. Okay, so you might also want to look that up, and based on what you see on their website, based on your prefecture, because I cannot say directly that okay, for housing just budget 214,000 yen. It doesn't work that way. Okay, because this is Japan, it's not regulated. Someone living in Tokyo might pay 500,000 yen initial deposit for the same house that someone in, maybe say, in Nashiki, in, hey pretty, and someone in Inashiki in Ibaraki prefecture would pay maybe 200,000 yen for. So you see, the same apartment, but the location matters. Okay, so depending on the location that you are going to in Japan, you might either be paying as high as or as low as possible. Okay, and for feeding, I think this is actually one way for you to save money. Okay, so if you love your local meals, please bring as many as possible. Although you have to check the, what's it called, the restriction, the food restriction. You are not allowed to come with fresh vegetables. You are not allowed to come with fresh meat or anything that can, spoil or contaminate the air, something like that. So you have to check all of those. check with the flights and all of that. Check, because you are going to be showing what you're coming into the country with at the airport. So you have to be very careful. So you might want to come in with your local food stuff to just help ease settling in. But food in Japan, in my prefecture, is relatively cheap aside fruits. Fruits are expensive everywhere in Japan, but food is, cheap. Like, and if you know your way around, if you go to the stores, to the malls in the evenings, they're trying, because they are very big on freshness and healthy meals here. So they would really love the food that they prepare for the day to really finish that day. So when you go in the evening, you see the prices have, been cut into maybe quarter or sometimes even half. So you might get food cheaper in the evening and all of that. So you can just manage with your own foods before you start getting food in malls or going to the restaurants in Japan here. Also, your transportation. That is very important, because except you are the type that love to walk a lot, which is also an exercise if you ask me. So you should get enough money for your transportation. You will be needing a lot of money for transportation. So depending on your school, for some people, they would usually know their school before they leave their home country. So depending on your school, depending on where you will be working, you might just send an email to your company, asking them about the transportation in that area. They might just be willing to, give you, the breakdown and all of that. So generally, it is so difficult to just place an amount, to say this is what you should prepare for. And also considering the fact that what's it called? The prices of maybe airfare, or everything just keeps changing. It's either going up or coming down. So you also have to consider all of that, and you can really say for sure that $6,000 is going to be enough, or $4,000 is all that I need. No, you just have to make your research and find out, all of these prices in your country. Okay, how much is airfare in my country? You convert it to yen. How much is housing? When you go to this website, for example, the Village House website, the housing, the prices are there. So it is not, there's no hidden fee. What you see there is what you pay for. Okay, though sometimes they might ask you to pay for 2 months ahead. Okay, so just go to this website, check the prices there, and it gives you an idea of what you should prepare for.
Wow, that's you've really handled that very well, and you've explained it like very well, because this issue of money is usually very confusing for everybody. And
Confusing.
I know some companies do usually offer like a loan. Do they still
Yes,
do that?
yes. I know Interact does that. So with
Yeah.
Interact can give you a loan for housing. So if you get a job with Interact, and probably you might want to consider this if you are, if you do not have enough money with you, at least you know that housing is out of the way. Okay, because Interact
Mhm.
can give you loan up to 250,000 yen or so for your housing. Then you pay them
Mhm.
back with very, very low interest. Very, very low. So yes, Interact does that.
Oh, that's amazing. Because I know someone is asking you, Jesse is asking, please throw more light on Leo Palace for shared houses and how much they cost.
Okay, so Leo Palace is not a share housing company. Okay. Leo Palace rents out apartments, okay, to foreigners. But they,
Mhm.
they have English service, okay? So if you want a 1K apartment basically means one room, one kitchen, very tiny
Mhm.
kitchen actually, the bathroom and the toilet, okay? And then the Palace apartments are usually semi-furnished. You have the microwave, you have the refrigerator, you have the washing machine. Okay, you are not buying all of those, you have them in the apartment. So,
Mhm.
depending on the location, for example, when I came into Japan, the first house that I lived in is a Leo Palace apartment. a 1K Leo Palace apartment. Okay,
Mhm.
and monthly I was paying 48,000 yen. 48,000 yen. Okay,
Wow.
yes, very very expensive.
Yes,
Really,
yes,
really,
true.
really, really, so much on the high.
Mhm.
Okay, so that is for Leo Palace. Now, there are share houses. Share houses are basically they look like hostels. You understand, right? So
Mhm.
there are common areas, and then you have a room to yourself. Okay, so some can be as low as 20,000 yen, 30,000 yen, 40,000 yen, depending on the location. Okay, but with a share house, you will not go through all of the struggles of looking for maybe a guarantor, looking for
Mhm.
um, you know,
Mhm.
um, 2 months down payment or 3 months down
Mhm.
payment, like some like Leo Palace would usually ask you. You pay 2 months rent ahead, you pay
Yeah.
deposit, you pay key money, you pay guarantor fee, and all of that. No, you don't have all of that in
Mhm.
share house. Okay, so share
Yeah.
house you just pay per month, while Leo Palace you pay for an apartment. Okay, depending on
Mhm.
the type that you want. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's I think that's very good to know. And if you I think also some people what they do is once you get there and you
Mm.
meet other people, maybe you can have you can probably get a bigger house and share
Yeah.
and the cost. So
True.
I know some people do that as well, but
Yeah.
as I said, for the beginning you will need to prepare yourself very very well financially. Well,
Yeah.
for me, I was so lucky when I
Oh.
went, because I was hired by a private company. Actually, I first
Oh.
interviewed with a dispatch company, and I was in the process of doing everything. And then I got interviewed by a private school.
Mm.
It was an Eikaiwa, so they
Oh.
interviewed me, and I ended up getting hired privately. So
Oh.
the employer was so kind because they paid for me everything. So they paid
Whoa.
for me the flight, they paid
Mm.
for me. They got me a house ready, so I didn't have
Mm.
to pay the key money and
Oh.
everything.
Wow. That's
Yes,
good.
and I think I
Mm.
had a big house, and I was paying about 35,000.
Lucky you. Lucky you.
Yeah, but it was a countryside, so it was a
Oh,
pretty
okay.
old house. So
Mm.
yeah, but it was, yeah, but that was good because I was able to save a lot of the
Mm.
cost, because I know that's expensive. But I
Yeah.
think one of the good thing that actually it's so funny because I tell people that I only had $100, $100 with me
Whoa.
when I traveled. So yeah, because yeah. So just to encourage those people who feel like, oh, I don't have the money to do it,
Mm.
and I usually encourage people and say, you can start the process. If you get a job, you can take a loan and you're able to
True.
pay back. Because
True.
with the flight, you only pay one way, you don't pay two way.
Two ways. No.
So
No.
that cuts on the cost for a little bit, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's wonderful. I would also like to ask Chi,
Mm.
now, given the 2025, and you've mentioned a lot of changes are coming,
Mm.
what are some of the things that we need to know as we apply in 2025?
Okay. One of the things that we need to know is the fact that more people are now applying. It is now even more competitive than ever. Okay, more people are applying, and what other things now? More people are applying. That is number one. Number two, it is not just enough now to have a degree. Before maybe even as far back as last year, if you have just a degree without teaching experience, some people still get it. They just come here without teaching experience and all of that. But it is becoming more and more competitive. The max is requesting for maybe a more standardized lesson. They are moving beyond just coming to the class and being the radio or something like that. So you're becoming more of the learning. You are becoming more invested. Like when I came, I was surprised because all I knew was that you come and then the JTE will give you a page of a book to read to the students and all of that. I was like, oh, what is
Wow.
that? But I got here and I got into work. So I am the T1 in my
Wow.
school. I handle my lessons, I make my plans, I teach, I do all of that. So if you're expecting that
Mm-hmm.
you will come to Japan and you will just stand by the side, that might not be the case for you too, just like myself, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to really have experience. Have
Yeah.
experience teaching. You really need that. You really need that. So if there's anything
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to advise anyone in this
Yes.
2025 and even beyond, make sure you have enough experience.
Yes.
If you can, get some certification, some teaching certification, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's very true because I mean, the world is changing right now, and
Mhm.
the best place for us to be is just a step ahead.
A step ahead.
So that when these changes come, and these changes come, we can find ourselves ready. And with the world today, we can get certification even while we are at home. We can go,
Online. Yeah.
to school online and
Mhm.
get the right
Mhm.
certification, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think that's very good. That's very good. So I'm going to go to the next part, and this is a Progos test because everybody is asking. I never did the Progos test. I don't know what it
Right.
is about. So if you could please just tell us and just give us some tips about getting ready for the Progos test and probably what to expect.
Okay. Okay, so the Progos test, like I said earlier, when I was interviewing for my own job, I didn't do anything like that. But when I got
Mm-hmm.
here, I became curious and then I eventually did. And I was happy I did because now I can talk about it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the Progos test basically is a type of English language test. And the sole purpose is to assess your practical business communication skills. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and the progress test basically tests it's it's multifaceted, right? It tests for your grammatical accuracy, it tests for
Mm-hmm.
your pronunciation, your articulation, your vocabulary range, and your
Mm-hmm.
ability to hold conversation, your listening skills. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because I remember when I took the progress test, it's how many minutes again? It was a 15-minute test.
Wow.
Yes, 15 minutes, and it was online. And
Mm-hmm.
the question is not repeated, it is once. So if you do not pay attention, it's gone. If you are not sound in grammar, you might not do well. If
Wow.
your articulation is not really good, like if you have so much of your native intonation, it
Mm-hmm.
might not go well, you know. So you need
Mm-hmm.
to be able to pronounce the words correctly. You need to be able to listen because there was a part of the test where it was a problem solving part. So they
Mm-hmm.
read, I listen to a problem and I offer a solution and I have to offer it once. I have to be
Mm-hmm.
very careful with my filler words or the it counts all of that and
Wow.
reduces the marks, yes. So you need to be careful with the filler words, you need to be careful with your tenses. So there is another part of the Progos test where I was asked to correct some tenses. So they give incorrect tenses and I have to state the reason why I feel it is incorrect. So I read,
Mm-hmm.
they give me an incorrect sentence, and then they ask me to correct the sentence and tell
Mm-hmm.
why I feel it is not correct. So you need a good understanding of your grammar. You need to be able to articulate your words properly. You need a wide range of vocabulary because for some, it is just basically asking you to provide synonyms, right? Okay, so you
Mm-hmm.
have this word. What is the closest word to this word, and all of that. So this is basically the Progos test. So you have to just prepare for all of this,
Mm-hmm.
various grammar units. So you have to prepare for
Wow.
all of that. And sometimes it is either marked by AI or marked by humans. Okay, mine was marked by AI. Like I got my result almost immediately, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, I got my result almost immediately, and sometimes it is humans that will,
Mm-hmm.
assess you and all of that. So it's just either ways. So you really need your mind to be there. Okay, your
Yeah.
mind to be there
Mm-hmm.
because it will read for some of the questions. The prompt says listen to the sentence once. Listen, and it is once and it is gone.
Wow.
You can say, excuse me, can you take it again? Can you take it again? No, there is no time for that because the time is even ticking. You can see the time
Wow.
ticking. It's displayed on the screen. So you don't have time to, and you have
Mm-hmm.
to think very fast. So if you're planning to
Wow.
take a Progos test, maybe you might want to revisit your grammar, you know,
Mm-hmm.
check for, all of this different grammar you need, tenses, um, verb subject agreements, all of
Mm-hmm.
those things. You want to revisit all of that, and then you just want to get ready for the test. So that's basically all about the Progos test, really.
Wow, thank you so much, Shi, because you at least, just gave us an idea of what it looks like and what to expect. Because a lot of people just don't know, what's going to be in there. But I think, as you've said, it's really helpful to get ready on those things as you get into the interview, and of course. I mean, what you've also shared with us, very, very important information about preparing our application for this year, for 2025, and of course, with the changing things. And I'm going to ask you the last question because I was in Japan in 2021. Has the economy changed? What do you feel? Is the economy doing well? And is it worth it to actually apply to come all the way? What's your advice on that?
Okay. Well, when I came here, I started hearing different stories about people saying, "Oh, the economy is not doing so well anymore," and all of that and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. But if you want to come to Japan, please come. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
If you do not want to come to Japan, don't come. Okay, because like
absolutely.
like I would like to tell anyone who cares to listen, Japan is not a bed of roses. It is not.
Mm-hmm.
When you leave your country and you move to places like maybe the UK or the US, you see everyone is speaking English, right? There's even every possibility that you meet someone who speaks your native tongue, and you more like, oh, this person is from my town or my city,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yes,
know. But in Japan, everything is in Japanese. Everything is in Japanese.
that's true.
So So aside cultural adaptation, you also have the language barrier to deal with when you come to
Mm-hmm.
Japan. Even though I I don't have a problem with that, maybe not so much anymore because I can easily navigate everywhere. I can go to anywhere I want to go to. I can go to the mall, I can shop, I can do the basic things that I need to do for my survival on my
Mm-hmm.
own. So I do not really have any problem with the language barrier anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you want to come to Japan and you think, oh, because this is where the frustration comes in for a lot of people. They feel when they leave their country and they come to Japan, everything just begins to, work perfectly and all of that. Japan is just another country that you go to work. Just like
Yeah.
people migrate to the United States, to Canada, to Australia, they go to these
Mm-hmm.
places to work. You come to Japan
Yeah.
to work. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
when I read some reviews on Reddit, I I really wonder what the motive is for coming to Japan in the first
Mm-hmm.
place. Because
Yeah.
someone shared a video with me that was early in the year. It was a YouTube video. The lady was saying that teachers in Japan are really suffering, that some of them only eat one meal per day. They cannot even survive eating one meal. I was so
Oh.
furious. But there's nothing I can do. I cannot disabuse the mind of someone
Mm-hmm.
who already has such misconception. Like, food or eating is like the barest minimum that you can get in Japan. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
non-negotiable. You will eat good food. So when you
Yeah.
say a teacher cannot afford more than one meal per day, and I am wondering what sort of misinformation is this? You know.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to come to Japan, come to Japan. Okay, depending on your motive. Okay, if you want to save in Japan, you might be able to save.
Yeah.
If you want to enjoy and you do not want to save anything, well, maybe you might end up not really saving because trust me, Japan has Japan is so attractive. It
Yes.
has so many
Yes.
attractive things that will take all of your money. So
Yeah, that's true.
if you want to enjoy life, you want to go to places, you want to tour the world, you want to tour Japan, trust me, you will not
Mm-hmm.
get bored because there is always something new to try out in Japan. Okay?
Yeah.
But like I would also always tell anyone who cares to listen, if whatever makes you leave your country to go to another country, it means you are either maybe just taking a vacation, but I think the higher percentage of people are just looking for greener pastures, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if your motive for coming to Japan is to look for greener pastures, then you know why you're here. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You you cut your budget. You just, how do they say that now? Cut your coat according to your clothes or something.
To your size, I think.
Yeah.
Or to your clothes. One of
Yeah.
that.
So you don't see a tour group going to Hokkaido for the next one. We can say, "Yay! I am joining. I am going." No, you can
Mm-hmm.
just, like, I have been exploring my city. I have not spent a dime. I have visited a lot of beautiful places in my area without spending 1 naira. Okay, that is also a means for me to explore my city, and I am doing that pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe when I am fully settled in, I might be able to, hop on the plane and fly to Hokkaido, spend one
Yeah.
week there, but not right now. Okay? So
Mm-hmm.
if you are planning to come to Japan, you must be driven by a motive and let the motive
Yes.
keep driving you. Okay? Don't
Mm-hmm.
just come here and don't join the bandwagon of those who say,
Yeah.
teachers in Japan are suffering and all of that. It depends. It really depends. I have heard
Yeah.
reviews from some companies. I have people who have worked in certain companies and they say, oh, this company is really terrible. I wish I never came through them. Some even say they cannot, like, it's just different for different people, right? But at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, you know why you came to Japan and
Yes.
let that be your driving force. So you are the
Mm-hmm.
one that will determine whether you can save in Japan or
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
the economy
Absolutely.
really. Yeah,
That's very true. And you know what, Chi? It's not just Japan, it's any country.
any country, yeah,
It's any country. There are people who are in Japan. They get doing the same job, getting this paid the same amount, but these two different people, there's one who's able to save and one just is not. One is able to do stuff, one is not able to.
not able
So,
to.
and when I look at Canada where I am, the economy is equally not as good. You know,
Mm,
when you look at just basically even where I come from in Kenya, still everyone is complaining about the economy. So yeah, so I think for those who want to, if you're really determined to go, then you'll find a way you to make it
yeah,
work. Yeah, and for those who are afraid, then fear will keep you where you are. So
exactly.
this has been such a wonderful conversation, Chi, and I'm so grateful for you to for coming today. And I would
Thank
like for
you.
you to also tell people about your channel so they can check you out, and also just be able to find more information with you. And as you do that, please also Jesse is asking, saying thanks for the explanation. Please, how can we find houses? Are there websites for that? I think you had mentioned that, right?
Yeah. Yes. Let me just say it again. So, housing, you can search for houses on villagehouse.com.
Mm-hmm.
Villagehouse.com. Okay, they provide housing, they have English service, very efficient. You also have a website, Real Estate Japan. Real
Mm-hmm.
Estate Japan. Okay,
Yeah.
you can look for houses there too. Then you can go with the popular Leo Palace. Okay, Leo Palace. Just type Leo
Mm-hmm.
Palace, and then I think it might lead you to their website. Because I did not look for the Leo Palace apartment myself. My company did for me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just type Leo Palace or Leo Palace apartment. You might get something, from there. And yeah, I am active on YouTube and
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah. So my YouTube channel is basically my name. Luke Chinyere. That's my YouTube channel. Look
Mm-hmm.
Chinere. So yeah, there I share important information, updates about teaching, about MEX scholarship for those who want to come through scholarship. I share updates
Mm-hmm.
about the MEX scholarship. I share updates about working as an ALT in Japan, the requirements, and all of that. So you can check out my handles. And on
Mm-hmm.
my name is the International Sensei. That's my TikTok
Mhm.
handle, the International Sensei. So I don't know if I can type in the chat box. So, anyways, but I think it's clear
Yeah.
enough, right? Mm,
Yeah, I will actually leave the links for your both for
okay.
your TikTok on the comment section, on the description, I mean, of this video, so everyone
Okay.
can go back and can just click and go to your channel.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and all everyone who also came. If you have any questions, you can leave your questions in the comment section. And please go follow Look Cheese channel as well. She's very active and sharing very important information that can be very, very helpful for your application. And guys, I wish you the very best, those who are still in the process. And I just pray that God blesses you and that God will
Amen.
also open the doors for you. He did it
Amen.
for us and He's able
Yeah.
to do it for you as well.
Sure.
So thank you so much, Shi. I hope you have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful evening.
I will. And you
It's
too.
morning.
Yeah, it's morning, right? Is it evening over
Yeah. So I'm on still on Friday. So it's Friday evening here. It's
there?
Friday,
Wow.
7 p.m. And you're on Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, 8:03. Hmm.
Imagine what a world. That's amazing. That's the amazing thing about God and His creation, right?
True, true.
All right. Thank you so much, Shi. I'm so grateful
Thank
for this
you.
opportunity and every
Thank you.
information you have shared with us. And
Thank you.
so we'll see you all guys in the next video. And may God bless you all.
Bless
Bye.
you. Bye.
Okay. Bye.